recording.
Thank you. I'm Jennifer, compulsive overeater.
Hi, Jennifer.
I came into program the end of July 2011 and became abstinent a week later, the beginning of August 2011. And I can get completely obsessed with numbers, so I don't track weight, but I've maintained a weight loss, and I'll talk a little bit more about my weight, even though I don't, but later. So I just thought I would use the usual format of what it was like, what happened, and what it's like now. A funny thing is, several years ago, I collected my fat photos and got them organized and put them in an envelope, and I have no idea where they are. I have been looking for years for these things, and I keep expecting them to pop up unexpectedly, and I don't know where they are, so trust me, I was fat. I come from a family of addicts, and that's funny, that just sort of occurred to me in the last year or so, that just about everyone in my immediate family is some kind of addict, and probably at least one person who would have identified with us. And the one person who wasn't really an addict had severe mental health issues, so it was fun times. I was not overweight as a child. I think I was active enough, and I just happened to grow up in a time where, now, every store you go into, there's something to eat that you can buy, and I just, luck of the draw, wasn't growing up at that time. But as soon as I hit adulthood, my weight just sort of gradually started increasing. And then my disease just went hardcore when I hit my late 30s, early 40s. It was a definite progression, and then it just went full throttle. So, and about that time, I moved from California up here to Washington. So I started a new job. We bought a farm, which it was quite a lifestyle change. And my disease was in full bloom, and it was really, it was impacting my marriage severely. It was just impacting a lot of my relationships. At the same time, my father had dementia, and so I was going down to California quite a bit. And for me, I'm in education, and at the time was teaching, and I could have all kinds of chaos going on in my life, but I could walk in the classroom and be okay. Like, my classroom was always my safe place. And this one day, I snapped at a student. And to this day, I am mortified that I snapped at him. In fact, my friends and family joke about how they're just amazed at how much patience I can have in the classroom, because when I was in my disease, I didn't have a lot of patience elsewhere. And that just really, that registered for me that I was really not okay, but I still didn't really know what I needed, but I knew I was really going over the edge. Then in, I think it was about 2011, 2012, I lost my niece, who was only 6 years younger than me, and my dad in about 3 months apart, 3-4 months apart. And I was seeing a therapist, and I went to see her, and to be truthful, losing my dad was really a release. He had dementia. He'd been in a nursing home for 5 years. So and I was he was my rock. I was closest to him. So losing him was devastating, but it was also a relief, and it freed up a lot of my head. So much of my brain was occupied with him and his care. And my therapist asked, okay, so you have this newfound freedom. What do you want? What do you want? And the only thing I could think of was, I want to be slim. That's what I want. I want to be slim. I want to be healthier. And around the same time, I went on a hike with a friend, and she had studied environmentalism, and we were talking about environmentalism. And I told her, I never told anyone, but I told her that I really felt my weight conflicted with my personal values, that I was impacting the environment with my weight. And I don't know what it was. I'm not even particularly close friends with her, but I said that to her, and just sort of like over a period of months, things started happening, and like this very slow awakening. And I really, really believe that my higher power had me move to Washington so I could find OA. And I'm not usually that type of person, but I really feel strongly that that's what my higher power wanted for me. Since then, I've looked back at places where I lived in California and looked up OA meetings, and there's so few. And I landed here, so close to Olympia, and I landed working somewhere with someone who was in program. And it was a perfect example of this program is a program of attraction. She never said anything, but I just saw how she behaved, and I saw how she ate and how she looked, of course. And then a different friend asked me one day, we had been trying different programs, and she's like, hey, do you want to go to OA? And I was like, yeah, okay, sure, why not? And so I went to my OA meeting, and I remember just I was at my bottom, absolute bottom. I could barely function. And I remember just being sort of slumping in the chair. And I didn't take much of anything in. I didn't understand anything. I was really irritated because people didn't explain things. And I remember going home like, God, they kept talking about abstinence, and never once did they explain it. And then, as my fog lifted, I was like, oh, well, I'll be darned, they do explain it every single time. And it's like in all the literature. But something connected, and I just thought, this is it. This is what I need. And so I went out and binged like a maniac. Yeah, it's amazing I didn't end up in the hospital in diabetic coma. Binged like an absolute maniac on this particular high sugar food. And I can mention foods, huh? Snickers. Mm-hmm. Snickers. I was eating like multiple Snickers a day, every day for a week. And I binged before, but I was like, I was scared. I was vulnerable. I didn't know what I was getting myself into. And I guess I instinctually, even though I didn't know what abstinence was, figured it probably doesn't involve Snickers. So I might as well get them in while I can. And I just remember, I would stop, like I live out in the country, but I get to a certain point, like every few miles there's a convenience store. There's a little town, like they're like 10 miles apart. And so like, it was just like, stop Snickers, stop Snickers, stop Snickers. And I'm sure I ate other things, but that's all I remember. And I went back to OA the next week and got enough information got in to my head that I became abstinent. And I stayed, and I kept going back to the meetings. And I was really, it's like, okay, abstinence, food plan, but the whole spiritual, emotional thing was still like, yeah, okay. And then this one day, I was in the kitchen, and my husband came in from outside. I had my back to him, and I think most couples have this thing where you know exactly what to say to push your partner's button and set things off. And he came in, and he said one of those phrases, and I looked over my shoulder at him, and I said, oh, let's not do that. And just went back to what I was doing, and I was just like, where did that come from? Because it wasn't thought through. It was just an instinct. And he was stunned. His jaw dropped. And he just walked back outside. And then about 15 minutes later, he came in and apologized. And both of us were like, what the? I can't swear. What happened? Like, what is this? What? And I was just thinking, I think this might be a program thing. Like this is like, this didn't come from me. And I still struggled for like a year and a half figuring out my higher power. I wasn't raised in an organized religion. I had joined or returned to a familial organized religion when I was older. But I had reached the point by the time I came into the program that I just really was feeling like I didn't believe in God. And I just really struggled. And I just kind of glommed onto things. It was the group. It was my favorite, I have to admit, is my Hello Kitty Street Fighter little thing I came across online somewhere. I'm like, that works, that's good, that's my higher power for a while. And I was in a meeting at work, and there's just this really difficult person. And I've come to appreciate these difficult people that come into my life because I learn so much from them. And she was just being her usual self. And I was sitting there, and all of a sudden it dawned on me, I'm like, oh, she's not my higher power. And I thought, okay, so if she's not my higher power, like another person is not my higher power, so my mom is not my higher power. And then I was okay. Like I don't have a description, I don't have a label, I just have my higher power, and that was just life-changing for me. And I do kind of have an image in my head of someone standing next to me holding like a laundry basket. And when the fear comes up and anxiety, I just dump that stuff in the laundry basket. And yeah, thank you. And like I do, I just like in my mind, I just turn and dump it in the basket and like, you carry it, you hold it for me, and I'm gonna go on. And that really helps me. And any time I start getting uppity, I mean, I live out in the country, so I literally just go out my front door, and there are trees that are so tall. And we have a creek that runs during the winter, and so during the winter, like I can hear it from the house, and like I have no control over that, nothing, and it's so much bigger than I am. And so that's just always a good reminder for me. I've had ups and downs in the program. I lost my mom a few years ago. I changed careers, which I thought I would never do ever, but I did this last summer. And I really, again, it's like that happened, and I was able to step into it because of program. I mean, in the interview, it's like I can do this and I can be saying this because of program. Like I can't imagine what kind of insane mess I would be if I didn't have program. And I'm good at my new job, and it's because of program, because I'm grounded, and I have the 12 steps and the 12 traditions and the principles to guide me through every interaction. And that was the big thing for me. I appreciate the weight loss. I appreciate the health. My mom had heart disease and type 2 diabetes, and I really don't want to have those. But I think the biggest thing for me is the sanity. I just didn't know how to live. I didn't know how to function in the world. I could fake it for a while, but then I would go home and stuff my face. And I didn't know how to deal with my emotions. No one in my family modeled that for me. And I went to therapy for many, many, many years, at least 15 years before I came into program, and that helped. But there was a missing piece, and OA had that piece for me. And so I have, if my food gets messy, if I really just have cravings, I want to feel comfortable in my body, but I want to feel comfortable in my brain, in my mind too, in my head. And I don't I can't do that. I never found any way to do that, to have that without program. And in this last year, I have a bone spur that's really impeded my activity. And I made the choice, I didn't change my food plan, so I put some weight back on, and I'm actually okay with it. I'm just kind of okay, like, that's okay. I'm still abstinent. I'm gradually getting to be more active, and I know this program works, so I know it'll be okay. And and through, just a lot, there were times at work where I don't have any tattoos. I'm a complete chicken, so I don't even have pierced ears. So I write on my hand, and I would just write HP on my hand. So when I was in a tense situation, I could just look at my hand and be okay. And I also have like a horrendous memory. I was talking to a friend just the other day, and he was bemoaning aging and feeling the impact on his memory. I'm like, I have never had a good memory, so I'm like just cruising the way I've always have, like since I was 10. Like, I need notes to remind me. And I can't imagine the people who did program before smartphones. Like, that's like this morning, I have to leave for a business trip tonight after the meeting. And I was like, oh, do I want to pack my daily reader, or I'm just going to be gone for 2 days? So I just take pictures of the readings, so I don't have to pack a book. And the reminder app is like my lifeline. And I put reminders on there just basic things, to breathe. Someone in program, when I was going through stressful times at work, told me, breathe and remember who you are. And so I put that on my daily app. Every day at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I would finally remember to breathe and remember who I was. And I put exercise on there. I put meditation on there. I have to remind myself to do all of these things. And I need those things. I need outreach calls, another one that I have on my reminder app. And I have to be abstinent. I just do not want to go back to that really horrible dark place when I was an awful person to myself and to others. And I just really, really will do anything to keep my program. And I want to respect anonymity, but I love that. I kind of feel like I'm not a very good sponsor, but I am good at getting people started. And there's people in this room who got me started, and there are people in this room that I've gotten started in program. And that makes me so happy. Just that we do that for each other. We're just this chain that we hold each other together. And it's funny, I'm still not good with emotions. And OA meetings are like one of the few places where I get tearful. I'm not a crier in general, but I really feel my emotions when I'm here. So I think actually, is that the 5-minute warning or was that the 5-minute warning? Oh, that was it. Okay. So wow, that was pretty good timing. I think I will close with that. Thank you.
Thanks, Jen. So if you came in a little later, I want to remind people that we are recording, and we're going to go to the question and answer time now. And rather than maybe have people walk over here and talk into my phone, we'll just repeat the question.
Sounds good.
So it's open for questions for Jen about her story.
So how long were you in the program before you got a sponsor, and how is that working for you?
Oh, that's a really good question.
So how long were you in the program before you got a sponsor, and how was that working for you?
Thank you. I'm not very good at following directions either. But I didn't swear. Not yet anyway. I think I was in program 3 weeks, and I asked someone in the program, because I was attending meetings in Aberdeen, and this person, it didn't quite occur to me at first that I could drive to Olympia and go to meetings, but I knew this other person did, and so I asked if she would get me a list of available sponsors, and she gave me the list, and I just started calling, and the first person who answered the phone, talked to her for a few minutes. I'm like, that's good, we're good. I didn't know what to look for in a sponsor really, other than someone who worked a good program, strong program. And I had my times where I was like, oh, I want a different sponsor. And then I'd start shopping around. It's like, my sponsor's good. She's good. And so I've had the same sponsor. I'm really lucky. I've had the same sponsor. And we check in fairly regularly. Once a week, I do a proper check-in. I have a different person that I report my food to every day. And then I have a different person that I report my activity to every day. So I kind of spread it around and for me, that holds me accountable, that I have, even in my deepest muck, integrity is really important to me. And so if I tell someone something, then I will do it. And so, yeah, thanks.
How do you define abstinence, and how do you work your program?
Repeat the question.
How do you define abstinence, and how do you work the program?
We're a great team. For me, abstinence is no binging. Bottom line, it's no binging. I kind of leave it a little loose because I just still to this day, as soon as I'm like, this is it, I want that over there. And so I find leaving it a little loose helps. There's just a lot of foods that I don't keep in the house. No bread, just none of that stuff. I mean, I could have easily lived on bread and water. That would have been my perfect food plan before program. I'm really grateful that my partner is very supportive of that. I think he's as grateful for my sanity as I am. And so from day one, he just stopped bringing certain foods in the house. And he was always a fairly healthy eater, but he basically follows the same food plan I do. And it wasn't really with any conversation. And so that helps me a lot. I'm really grateful for that, because I'm still if food's in front of me, I need to get on my phone and text someone and commit, because it's just so tempting. So I couldn't live with it. How I work my program, I wake up, I say the Serenity Prayer. I get up, I'm on a farm, I have lots of animals who know the minute I open my eyes, so I stay in bed and say my Serenity Prayer, and then I get up and start feeding everyone, and then I sit down and read in a daily reader, and then I just sit quietly for about half an hour. It's not always formal meditation, but just quiet time. I just really need that to ground myself for the day. And then I have someone in program. Early in program, I went down to visit a friend who is a normie and keeps just an ordinary amount of snacks in her house of all kinds. And it just kills me, because she's like, oh, you probably don't want to eat those crackers, those are stale. And I'm like, I don't really understand that concept, stale crackers. I didn't know crackers could get stale. Who would keep them around that long? Because a box is a serving. And so I remember sitting in the guest room and texting someone in program, and I'm like, oh dear God, I'm in this house with just an entire kitchen full of everything. And she said, okay, we're going to bookend. So tell me when you're going to bed, and commit to be abstinent, and then text me in the morning, and just bookend it. And I still do that. I have a couple people, so I just text them every morning, good morning, and then at night, good night. And sometimes I feel silly, but it just really helps me bookend my day. So then I go about my day. I dump a lot of things in my laundry basket, my higher power, throughout the day. I text people. It's interesting. The place I work now, there's just a lot more food in meetings and things, and so I'll just text someone like, I'm in a meeting with cookies, not having any cookies. And again, I'm so grateful for technology because I can be sitting in a meeting. I don't have to leave the meeting. I don't have to disrupt the meeting, but I can reach out and get support. And then at the end of the day, I report my food, report my activity, do the AEIOU, and text my good nights. And so that's my day, and just using the tools throughout the day. Thanks.
I should probably know this, but what's AEIOU?
What is AEIOU?
Good job.
Beat you to it. Some people use different things. I use it for A, was I abstinent? E is for exercise. Some people use that for emotions. I use it for exercise. What did I do for myself today? And that one I really, really like because I can go a while without doing things for myself, and so that's always a good reminder. O is what did I do for others? And U is what understanding did I have today? So what realization or what, and that's usually where I address my emotions more, is under the U. And I've done a lot of different formats, but that one has been what I've been using for a while now.
I have one. So I might have missed this, I apologize, I came in late. But could you talk about your evolving relationship with a higher power?
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk about your evolving relationship with the higher power?
Like I said, I didn't grow up in an organized religion, so I really was, it was very, my family spoke of God, but just there was no practice, and I had no understanding of God, really. And then as an adult, I did join this organized religion that part of my family belonged to or had grown up in. And then, like I said, when I came to program, I was just so demoralized that I really had a hard time believing that there was any kind of God or higher power. And so I struggled with the higher power, and I'm really grateful that people encouraged me, and I was able to be patient with myself and just use whatever I needed for my higher power. And then I just gradually, I think I shared earlier, it took me about 1.5 years into program to just sort of settle into, okay, I have this higher power, and I don't need to label it, and I don't need to describe it, and I don't need to explain it to anyone, but it just is my higher power. And I had a lot of fear and anxiety my entire life. Like, that was just my normal mode, was a lot of anxiety. And program really helped me with that, and having the higher power to finally, for the first time in my life, feel that I had something or someone in my life that truly would take care of me, and not take care of me on conditions or ditch out on me after a while, or just not be able to take care of me because they have their own, like, they don't have that capacity. My higher power takes care of me, and it is safe, and I can always turn to my higher power.
Any more?
Will you tell us about your food plan?
Tell us about your food plan.
My food plan is 3 meals a day and 2 optional snacks. When I came into program, I mean, I could binge from like 24 hours a day, no exaggeration. I would get up in the middle of the night to eat. But my hardest thing was night eating. And someone in program said, well, just make that part of your food plan. Give yourself a snack before you go to bed. I was like, all right, legitimize it, okay. And like, it was planned, so it wasn't a binge. And it was funny because I did that for quite a few years, and then all of a sudden one day I was like, oh, I stopped eating at night. Like, I hadn't even noticed that I'd stopped eating at night. And sometimes I still do have a snack before I go to bed, but I do breakfast, lunch, afternoon snack, dinner, and then possibly a snack before I go to bed. I am noticing, and I need to go see my doctor, I think I'm reaching a point in my life, in my age, where I need to maybe break that up a little bit more, because I notice I just start getting shaky, and so I just need to, I need to look into that and how I'm gonna redo my food plan around that. And what's nice is I know people in program who have done that, and so I know how I can do it. I don't even remember now who asked me that question. Oh, sorry. The memory thing. Does that answer your question, or did you want?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have one other question. Can you talk about one of the steps that you either go to consistently because it's like, this is the step that I know I need, or one that you feel like you avoid? It's like, sort of, what is your relationship with one of the steps that sort of stands out more than your relationship with the others?
What is your relationship with one of the steps that stands out more than the others?
I gradually over the years, I came to see, because when I first came into program, I saw it as a checklist. So I was like, done. To this day, my sponsor's like, I can't believe you did your 4th step in a weekend. I'm like, I've been talking about it for 15 years in therapy. Like, putting that down on paper is no problem. Like, then I had to deal with it. That was, like, I could share that ad nauseum. But I think for me, that I came to see the steps as kind of bookended. So for me, the first 3 steps and the last 3 steps are my daily practice. And then I go to the other steps as needed. And my sponsor told me when I do the 10th step, if something keeps cropping up, then I need to do a 4th step on it. And that's kind of a nice way to track it. One of my sponsees actually introduced me to the idea, and there are forms online, that you can do a 4th step on one thing. You don't have to do a complete inventory. And I just find those really useful to and usually I just sit down and fill out the form, and it's like, oh, okay. That's all I need to do. But it's just, and that's what I love about the program, is that there are these not necessarily easy, but simple things to do that without doing those, I spin out. Thanks. That was a good question. I like the question.
So if you could go back and just tell yourself something when you walked in the doors of OA, what might that be?
If you could go back and tell yourself something when you walked in the doors of OA, what might that be?
It's okay that I didn't find it sooner. There are times when I'm like, why? I wish I'd find it, and I find it 10 years earlier. Why? And I found it when I was ready for it. I had to hit bottom before I could even entertain the idea.
Any more? Are we good?